Hi, welcome to Curtain Call. I'm Hedy Weiss, theater and dance critic for the Chicago Sun-Times, and today it is my pleasure to welcome John Logan, who has written the book for the new Sting musical, The Last Ship. You also know him as the Tony Award-winning writer of the play Red, about Mark Rothko. Probably even more of you know him as the screenwriter for the James Bond film Skyfall, and many, many other things, and also his new TV show, Penny Dreadful. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Hedy.
So, how did you get the job on this musical?
2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, Joe Mantello, the director who I've known forever, came to me and said, "How would you like to work on a musical?" And as you know, I love musicals, and I have no musical ability whatsoever. But I've always thought I would love to write the book to a musical, but it had to be the right thing. And honestly, people had approached me in the past a lot about writing a book to a musical. But I thought, especially for my first one, it needed to be something that I cared about deeply.
Right. Although you had done the screenplay for Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, so I had some experience working with Steve Sondheim and Tim Burton about sort of how music and words allied to create sort of a new thing. So
That's not too tacky as a
Yes, not too
tutorial.
tacky to collaborate. Yes, for an introduction to the world of musicals, not too shabby, Mr. Sondheim. And Joe came to me and said, "It's the Sting musical." And I said, "Well, I thought Brian Yorkie was doing that." And he said, "Yes, we've worked with Brian, it's been great, but he's going on to do If Then, his new show with his longtime partner, Tom Kitt." He said, "So we need a new book writer to take it over and bring us through to production." So I said, "Okay, send me the music and the script." And he did, and I read the book, which was great, and then I listened to Sting's music, and that was it, because I found it very moving, and I found it very personal, because Sting's father worked in the shipyards in Newcastle, and my father worked at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast.
In a sense, you're the third writer, because if you listen to the score, there certainly is a story, and when he recorded it as an album, there certainly was a story. So what did you want to pull out and focus on and fix?
I think theater is always about honest emotion. And to me, it's never about being sardonic or being clever or being ironic. That to me is a cheap emotion to give to
a distancer.
Yes, it's a distancer to a live audience. And the whole point about live theater as opposed to television or film for me is you want to touch people directly. You want to reach out and touch their skin. And so my focus was making the characters as full and as real as they could possibly be in these situations, and to treat it with incredible respect, like an adult. And The Last Ship is, it's about adult people in complex situations. And I hope with the grateful assistance and the fantastic assistance of Sting and Joe Mantello and Stephen Hoggett, I think we've all embraced the idea that not everyone may like our show, some people may love it, but it is uniquely its own beast, and it's trying to be honest about people. For me, the hardest part was when does my work stop to enable Sting's works to begin? If I say something in a scene, then there might be no reason for a song. And book writers have been learning. I'm just learning it for the first time to sort of make that.
Like, shut up and get away from it.
Shut up and get away from it. Exactly, because you don't want to walk out of The Last Ship singing the book, But in a way, I think being a screenwriter prepared me for that rather well, because as a screenwriter, you are always at the service of the image, you are always leading toward a presentation of a visual image. And so when I worked on The Last Ship, I looked at it almost the same way I'd look at James Bond, in terms of I have to write the scene, I have to set the forces in motion, and then I have to very generously and appropriately hand it over to something else and to someone else. But as you know, I've always been a writer who's just lived for my collaborators. So whether I'm handing something to Sam Mendes and Dan Craig or to Joe Mantello and Sting, I feel very comfortable doing so.
What did you talk to him about initially? What did you ask him about in terms of, you said you want real people, but what else did he say?
I asked him about his father. We talked about our fathers. That's what we talked about more than anything. And the complex response we both have to shipbuilding. Because, my father wanted to be a writer. And but when he's 16 and you're poor in Belfast, you're working in the shipyards. And he never got to live that dream, and I did. So he wrote other things as a naval architect. He wrote steel, he wrote ships. And Sting also has a very complicated response to his father and that relationship, because all he wanted to do was get out of Wall's End and get away from that. He knew anything but that for him. And eventually that anything was teaching English and writing songs and becoming a singer. So we talk more than anything in the first 6 months or so about our relationships with our dads, who are both gone, and what we would say to them, what we should have said to them.
But they both saw you successful.
They did.
Yeah.
They did, which was very gratifying. But to me, and very rare of my own work, I find the show personally very moving. I find it difficult to watch parts of it because it's so personal about, in my case, the things I wish I'd said to my father and I wish he had said to me that we just never did.
So now the next question obviously is when are you going to write your own musical? And what is it going to be?
Well, this process, when I started 2 years ago, I hoped I would love it, but you never know until you're in the room and you realize, all right, can I enjoy the selflessness of this in the theater? Because normally in the theater, I'm used to being the playwright,
You're the playwright,
the auteur.
Right.
And do I have the humility for it? Do I have the grace for it? Do I have the temperament for it? And I find I really do, because I'm 52. I've done a lot of work, and it's a rather glorious thing to give over your own ideas and intensity to other people who share them. So I've loved this process. And I'm talking about a new musical now. So gradually, as
an original story or based on something, or
can't say.
Oh.
But it is. Okay. But it is interesting as I look forward, and look at the work I've done. It's, the big movies, the Bonds and things like that are increasingly less interesting to me, because I feel I really have done that. I've walked in that world long enough. But the theater always fascinates me. Always has since I was 7. And television, which is brand new to me, is also fascinating to me. So if I had to look into the future, I would imagine I'd be doing theater and TV almost exclusively.
Is there a composer you would love to collaborate with? You've already talked to him or her.
You're very sneaky. You're very sneaky.
All right, I didn't get that, but thank you so much.
Of course.
And I'm looking forward to the show.
Hope you enjoy it.
Okay.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
And thank you for watching.